Peace and gratitude. This is Reverend Dr. Kamara Falade Banderowa. I attempted to share my screen, but it's giving me technical difficulties. Let me see what will happen. Click share. Let me see what happens. Let me just see what happens. Nope. Okay. So you're just going to be looking at a blank screen while I share this. So today is Thursday, October 23rd, 2025. In peace and gratitude, I am Dr. Kamara Falade Banderowa. And yesterday, Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025, I did a video about, it's like a mini informal class about skull candle interpretation. So last night, or like early in the morning hours, I received a word. I heard a message saying that hoodoo is therapy. Hoodoo is therapy. So I thought about it. And those of you who come from a lineage of root workers, hoodoo, that something like a skull candle can be integrated in therapy, because essentially the skull represents a person. It represents a person that the person doing the actual working has issue with or is having a conflict with. So you talking to, it's just like writing a letter to a person that has done you wrong, or have done you or did you wrong, or cause some kind of pain or conflict or imbalance in your life. It's like when you go to therapy and they say, well, write a letter to the person if you're not able to physically, communicate with the person eyeball to eyeball. Or sometimes they'll, tell you, imagine if this person was sitting here, right here in front of you, what would you say to the person? Well, that particular working, the skull candle, is the same thing. That is your opportunity to say everything that you want to say to that person. Where there's no filter, there's no judgment, you're not censoring what you're saying. Everything that you're feeling about that person and the situation that involved that person, you are putting it into that skull. And then you go burn it. And you go on about your way. And you let God, the creator, your spirit team, your ancestors, take care of the rest. Hoodoo is a form of therapy. I said on my Facebook page today that our mothers, I mean, mothers, our grandparents, our aunts, our uncles used root work and hoodoo as a form. Not only was it a form of resistance, not only were they engaged in something revolutionary, but they were our first introduction to mental health therapists. So those grandmothers of the church who were prayer warriors, but then when you went to their home and they had a room where they mixed herbs and created tinctures and salves and did workings and prayers, they were our first introduction to mental health therapists, because they understood energy. They understood how to work on energy, how to heal the mind through the earth and through fire element and air element and water element. There is nothing new under the sun. We think, oh, therapy and psychotherapy and psychiatry and medications and triggers and all of these terms that we use associated with psychology is new. It's nothing new. Our people were practicing, well, I won't even say practicing, our people were our mental health therapists. How else could we have endured and went through the horrors, the evil, the um degrading acts of slavery without prayer, without root workers? They understood that the earth element, the fire element, the water element, the air element were alive and could assist us in moving forward and assist us in creating a more productive and promising future. So all of this stuff that we have a language for now, and we have the careers for now, and the jobs for now, and the spaces for now, our ancestors been doing it. They were already telling us and introducing us and showing us mental health and prescriptions. There's nothing new under the sun. So that skull candle is one tool that is, hoodoo or mysticism or magic, whatever, alchemy, whatever you want to call it or label it. It's one tool that you can utilize in your therapy sessions, in your healing sessions, in your counseling sessions. Have them go in, get a skull candle, have them go in, whatever it is they want to say, have them go in. And then light that skull candle up. Go outside, scream at the top of your lungs, pray outside, and let the air elements take that prayer and watch what happens. In the shower, water element, scream out, release, clear up that throat chakra, release the pain, release the negative emotions while you're taking a shower, speaking over the water element, and watch things change. Hoodoo is therapy. And like I said in the video yesterday, that it is true when those who are in the craft, and they tell you, you really need to be mindful when you're doing rituals, when you're doing workings, when you're doing spell work, however you want to label it, alchemy, whatever, you have to be mindful, because if you're not approaching it from a pure place, if your heart space is not right, it will come back to you. But guess what? Even if your heart space is right, it's still coming back to you, because we're all connected. And I said in the video yesterday that really, when I did the skull candle working, I was doing it for myself. I'm cleansing myself because I'm releasing all that negative energy, all of the heaviness, the fear, the doubt, the insecurity, the conflict, the drama. I'm releasing that. So I'm clearing up my throat chakra. I'm releasing all of that heavy energy out of my body. So the magic is not only for the other person, it's for me as well. I'm changing as well. That's why one of the protocols, one of the rules of ethics when you do this work is to make sure you approach it with clean hands and a clean heart, because you're doing it to yourself. It's therapy for you as well. It's a ritual or working on you as well. It's not just for the other person. If you truly believe that we are all connected, if you understand that we're all connected, or understand that we're all connected, you would think twice about going to get a ritual or working done, or even performing one, when you really understand the ethics and the protocol of we are all connected. And what you're doing in this ritual or this working, you're doing it to yourself as well. You're doing it for yourself as well. It's not a individual thing. It's not a solitary thing. It's not you in a bubble and it's just going to bounce off of you. No, in some way, shape, or form, that ritual, that working, that alchemy is going to transform you as well. But that's the part that you don't hear and you don't see on social media or in the media. Now, they'll tell you about it coming back to you and bouncing back onto you, but it's always in a negative sense. And that part is half true. That's part of it, but it's not all of it. Regardless if your intentions are pure or they're negative, it's coming back to you, period. If you're doing the working, it's coming back to you. That's why it's important to do divination before you do candle working or any type of working for other people. Even praying for other people, you need to divine it first. Because somehow, some way, your energy is going to be intertwined and it's going to affect you. So you need to be very mindful of why you're doing the working, who you're doing it for, and should you even do the working, and what kind of working should you do. So hoodoo is a form of therapy. It is. And I'm so thankful for this resource that I have. It has been my therapy. It has been a resource that I use when I need to correct my thoughts, when negative thought forms are attempting to attach to me, when I need to cleanse my environment, I need to cleanse my body, I need to clear my space, I need to clear my aura. I'm thankful that I have the resource called Hoodoo. When you go into therapy, those who are in therapy, have been in therapy, the counselor, the therapist always asks you, what is your support system? What type of support system do you have? So excuse me. So when you're triggered or you're on the cusp of going into a relapse, who can you call? Or what activity can you do to help redirect your mind, to redirect your thoughts, to redirect your behavior? They always ask you that. Those who've been in therapy, you know what I'm saying. You can attest to what I'm saying. And for me, Hoodoo is one of them. There is one of the resources that helps me to redirect. Let me go do a spell for myself. Because most of the time I'm doing the work for myself more so than for other people or for external influences. Another good way is just you can have your client just speak into a candle, or your patient speak into a candle, speak into the candle. Everything they want to say, everything that they're feeling, and then go burn it. And that can be part of their resource or their tool that helps them to redirect their thoughts and redirect their behavior. Hoodoo is therapy. When I got that message, when that download came to me this morning, I'm like, oh, and I got confirmation for it. And I will end it with this. I was here in Michigan. There is a facility, a residential facility called Vista Maria, and it's a place where girls go that basically, or it's particularly for girls. It's for girls. What the portion of Vista Maria that I'm talking about is for girls who either, are wards of the court, have experienced trauma. They've been taken out of the home. CPS have come in and taken them out of the home. There was abuse in the home, neglect in the home. The parent just isn't mentally, financially, emotionally, psychologically capable of fulfilling their duties and their rights as a parent. And so the girl will find herself at Vista Maria. And so I was at Vista Maria. And so one of our local news outlets here in Michigan reported that the residential part of Vista Maria, they're going to close that particular portion. The other things that they do, as far as foster care, independent living, things of that nature, they're going to keep that going, but they don't have the capacity, they don't have the resources um, to help the young women that are there and still comply to the state's guidelines. So they have decided to close that part of Vista Maria, and that they're going to transition the girls into more intensive psychiatric treatment. What does that tell me? And it's interesting that I wake up and go on Facebook and I see that article or that post, that news story on my timeline after receiving that Hoodoo is therapy. So, what does that tell me? It tells me that what our young women are facing, and I'm only talking about young women because of the context of this particular facility that deals with young women. I'm not negating that our young men don't deal with the same issues, but in context of what I'm talking about, our young women are experiencing so much trauma that places like Vista Maria does not have the capacity or the resources to deal with it, and that they need psychiatric treatment. Do you understand psychiatric treatment is the high level is high level mental health, which means that you're self-contained, and more than likely drugs will be administered to you in order to deal with your mental health challenges. So our young ladies are experiencing such intense emotional and psychological trauma that these type of residential treatment facilities such as Vista Maria just don't have the capacity to deal with it. And if you know, you know. I will share my experience. This past summer, 2025, in I think it was in June. No, it was July. It was in July. In July, I was having a mental episode. I was having a mental break because at that moment, the only way out of my situation that I believed in that moment was to take my life. Because I had so much anger in me that I would have rather taken my life than acted out on that anger and took the life of someone else and spent the rest of my years in prison. So I would have rather taken the hit that way through death than to express my anger. And those thoughts were just like, I mean, I've never experienced anything like that. And I literally called 911, requested a mental health unit to come out, and the police ended up putting me in the back of the car, the squad car, and taking me to a hospital here in Detroit, and admitted me into the mental health portion of the hospital. I talked to a counselor, a psychologist, a social worker. After they heard, what I was going through, they took down my statement, they took notes. They told me what my options were. And they trusted me enough that they released me on my own recognizance. Um, because just long story short, clearly I believe the woman saw something in me that I was having a moment, and that I would get past that moment. And so I was released. I didn't have to stay an additional, 2 or 3 days and be admitted and all of that. But I will tell you this. I didn't take any drugs. I wasn't prescribed any drugs, nothing to that extent. But I can tell you that a part of me is different because of that experience mentally. And I have heard on several occasions from other people's testimonies that once you are admitted into the psych ward, whether you do it willingly or the hospital does it for you, if you weren't quote unquote crazy, and I put it loosely and I use the words that other people use, if you weren't crazy, you're going to be crazy because of the medication and just what goes on in these facilities. And I can believe it because just for the few hours that I was there, I haven't been the same. Like, I haven't been the same. So, if our young girls, if there isn't, I think Vista Maria may be the only residential or large scale residential facility that we have in Michigan that helps to transition girls into healthy individuals through a residential treatment facility. If they are saying that they don't have the resources and the ability to comply to the state's requirements to deal with this level of trauma, what is that telling you about what's going on with our young women? And it tells me that what we're doing is not enough. And it's not enough, and we got to think outside of the box, and we need to go back to our indigenous way of doing things along with modern psychology and modern mental health resources and strategies. We need to go back to our indigenous way of thinking and doing and being and living and practicing and integrating that in our life, because I remember I wrote my dissertation on this, especially for Black people. If we don't return to our indigenous way of living, our indigenous spiritual practices, we are going to be extinct. We need both. We need modern medicine and we need our indigenous way of being. Both can work together. They can have a symbiotic relationship. One does not have to exclude the other because clearly therapy isn't enough. Going to church and religion isn't enough. The missing component, because in the line of work that I do, three is the quote unquote magic number. Even Nikolai Tesla can attest to that. 369. Three is a magic number. So we got the spirituality, the religion, air quotes. We got that component. We got the mental health component. What we're missing in the Black community is our own spiritual practices. If we put all three of them together, we could heal what's going on with us. Well, we won't be admitted into psychiatric wards. I truly believe that. I truly believe that. I truly believe it. I truly, if we incorporate all three in our healing work, if we use all three modalities in our healing work, we can see a shift in our energy and in our culture. Because all hoodoo is just when our people, our grandparents, our aunts and our uncles and great aunts and uncles, it all they were doing was just shifting our energy, raising our energy. They were raising our energy so we could have the courage and the boldness and the fierceness to 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 remove ourselves from an enslaved position and mindset. It wasn't nothing evil or demonic about it. So if our young women, if residential treatment is just not enough and now they have to go be admitted into a psychiatric facility, what does that tell you? That we're going to have to explore other modalities. We're going to have to. We're going to have to go back and study the pioneers and the trailblazers and metaphysics all the way from ancient Kemet to Madame Blavatsky and Emily Coué and Neville Goddard and Abraham Hicks, all of these people, Florence Scovel Shinn, um, Napoleon Hill. We're gonna have to start looking at all of these metaphysical pioneers and giants, Reverend Ike, Bishop Dr. Barbara Lewis King, Johnny Coleman, Dr. Coleman. We're gonna have to start looking at them and looking at their modalities and start incorporating it. Because to put a child, when I was in Vista Maria, I was just a child. I was only 16 years old. I was a child. And to put them into a psychiatric facility, what are we doing? What are we doing? When the resources are there, we have everything that we need. We have everything that we need to succeed and proceed, as India Ari would say, in this life. Why are our young women being subject to just you just got to go to a psychiatric home or a psychiatric facility? That they're entering these residential spaces, residential treatment spaces, and they don't have their trauma is just so enormous that the capacity to treat them is just not there. How do we get to this point? Why are we at this point? So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I want to share that with you because hoodoo is therapy. It is my therapy. And I had to have that experience over the summer to remind me of who I am and don't allow anyone or anything to ever take me off my square again to that level. If I got to go scream into a pillow, if I got to yell into 50 million candles and just set it on fire, so do it. If I got to do a bonfire in my backyard, so be it. But don't let anyone ever take my mind. Don't allow my mind to take control over me. I have control over my mind. And it helped me to start studying thought forms that really I was allowing thought forms to attach to me. Those were not my thoughts. Never in my life have I ever thought that way. Ever. So it led me to deepen my studying and my knowledge and my expertise about thought forms. Thought forms are real. That is why it's so important to cleanse your space. I don't care if you cleanse your space through sound therapy, through singing, through incense, through water cleaning up, whatever it is that you do. It's so important to keep your space clean because thought forms will attach to you. It's so important to cleanse yourself before you go to bed. Protect yourself in your sleep because thought forms will attach to you on the astral realm. Never again will I allow that experience ever. So it's something to think about. Instead of looking at these practices as, oh, it's voodoo and, Ifa and hoodoo is all demonic and all these demons, look at it as a form of therapy. It can be therapeutic because I believe all things are good until they're not. I believe all things I know. I know that I know that I know that I know. All things are good until they're not. All things are good until they're not. All things are good until they're not. And I believe that if we would just remove the blinders, remove the stereotypes of these African traditional religions, these African indigenous practices as a way of life, we would heal ourselves and our community. And I thank you so much for attending this live. If you were listening live or if you're going to listen to the replay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And until next time, stay grateful and stay aware.